Hello, Damian. Welcome to the XP chat.
Hi, Lee. Thanks for having me, mate.
Notice I skillfully avoided the surname there.
Epic. Well done, mate. You're a good man.
So it's Damian Raxach, and you're up at Harvey Bay, right?
That's correct, Lee. Yep, absolutely. Been an agent up here for 15 years now.
15 years.
Yep.
Long-term agent. How long have you been with eXp for?
I've been with eXp. I'm just starting my third year.
Starting your third year. So before eXp, who have you worked with? Was it just one company, or have you worked with multiple companies? And what was the reason for making the switch to eXp?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've actually been an agent for 25 years.
Wow.
I've always been an employee until I've been with a couple of the big brands. I was with Harcourts for, I don't know, about 10 years, I think.
Wow.
Then I went out in 2014 on my own, and I was part of another, I guess, similar kind of idea to eXp. I was with one agency from 2014 to 2019, and then I had a year off and came back into the game and chose to work with eXp.
Okay. So had a year off. Any particular reason? Just need the break? Gap year?
Yeah, I needed a break. So in 2014, I set up the business on my own. And then in 2017, I merged it with another company. By 2019, it was evident that that wasn't going to work out. So we decided to go our separate ways. And that person kept the one agency branding. And I decided to have a year off and recoup and recover. And then and that coincided perfectly with COVID, so it worked out really very well. And then then I came back stronger, fitter, and more focused on what I was doing and how I wanted that to look, rather than having to worry about offices, business partners, staff, and rent rolls, and blah 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 blah.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, coming from a person with a lot of experience, what was the attraction to the eXp business model for you?
There was a few. It took me a fair amount of time to actually believe it, Lee. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but I found it, I stumbled across it, and I thought it was a hoax. I didn't believe it was real because it just all sounded too perfect. And then a friend of mine introduced me to it by coincidence and assured me it was real. And then I started looking into it a little bit more and went, well, if this is real, then I've got to be part of this. And I jumped in and signed up, and here we are over 3 years later. So.
Okay. So you just come across it somewhere online, thought it was too good to be true. I know I had the same experience as well. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And once I started looking into it, I was like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What have I been doing with my career?
Exactly right. Yeah, it is a bit like that. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And maybe we're all just too skeptical as we get older, or wise. I prefer to use the word, but anyway, one and the same sometimes. I just thought it couldn't be real. I thought it was an online hoax or something.
Yeah, very skeptical. And I think particularly here in Australia, we're very skeptical about these sort of business models. I mean, this is certainly an American business model that's come to Australia, very new to Australia, only about 3 years. You must have been one of the first agents with the company.
Yeah, I was definitely in the first few. I think probably 10th or 11th, something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So joining the company, what was the couple of biggest draw cards for you that you found really attractive about the model?
Yeah, one of them, my main one is actually probably quite weird, but having run my own business and done all of that, one of the things I used to hate was having a trust account. I'm super paranoid, super careful, and I knew my trust account was always 100% tickety-boo. There was never any issues, but I just always had that element of doubt in my head every single time I did an audit, every single time I had the Office of Fair Trading come in. I just used to have sleepless nights, and I decided if I was going back into real estate, that was something I just didn't want anymore. So that was actually a huge attraction to me. Like when you're driving and the police are behind you and you're not doing anything wrong, but you still slow down and get really paranoid. That's how I felt when I knew I was coming up to an audit.
I can get that, yeah. I mean, I've never had to hold a trust account myself, but I can certainly understand the stress that must come around it.
It's horrible, and I knew it was good, but it always gave me sleepless nights, and that for me was a real big reason. I know it's probably a pretty dumb reason, but for me it was a big one, and it certainly was one of my clinching things. There's the obvious ones, the amount of commission you get to keep, and the fact that you become an owner in the company as well is a massive plus. But they're more obvious, and I'm sure if you're doing these videos, many other people have said those things because they're so excellent. They're real obvious drivers, but for me, the real one was that trust account.
The trust account, yeah. And you look at it, $220 a month that you're paying eXp. The platform gives you all the tools to do your jobs, plus the trust accounting.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from a person that's you had your own office, you had your own team.
Yep.
Now paying $220 a month. What does that look like as far as where you came from and how it is now?
Sometimes I felt like I was paying that a minute, mate. When I ran my office, I wasn't doing what I love doing, which is working with people and selling houses. They're the two things that I just love doing. And when I was running the office and running my own business, I just felt like I wasn't doing that. I felt like I was always sorting out other people's problems and helping people in my team, which was fine. I don't mind doing that. I love coaching young agents and helping young agents, but it was taking me away from my true passion.
Yeah. So you're back into it now. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people would look at this model and go, oh, for the individual agent that works for maybe one of the franchise mobs, coming out and getting that bigger comm split with the potential of going to 100% very quickly. That's the attraction. But I think the business model of eXp is very suitable to an office environment as well, like someone that's running a franchise business to help reduce their overheads and maximize their profits.
Yeah, look, definitely. I would say now that is an option to people. I would say it's one they should look at. Definitely. I think if this had been around 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I probably would have looked at it a little bit more sensibly then, or a little bit more carefully then, because I agree the value for money that you get and through the business model is excellent for someone running an office as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Australia, at least in the past decade and more recently as well, there's a lot more of these business models that allows people to go out there without one of the big brands behind them, because we understand it's not the brand that makes us successful. It's the work that we put in as an individual or as a team. So you could actually go away from that brand with your own brand and the backing of eXp and do exactly the same thing for only $220 a month. And those overheads that you must have working in one of those franchise mobs would be huge compared to $220.
Yeah, you can't even start to compare them. It's just incomparable. The 220 is excellent value for money for sure. And you're absolutely right, Lee. It's all about the individual. People deal with people. Yes, brands can be helpful. I'd never say a bad thing about brands, because I've worked with some really good brands and I've loved their brand, and their brand has been helpful to me. But at the end of the day, ultimately, people want to deal with people. The brand may be a little bit of a comfort blanket, and they may have had a good experience through that brand in another place or at another time. But ultimately, that's not the reason people choose real estate agents. They choose the person.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I had that thing, the comfort there with the brand as well. And I guess when I took that leap of faith, I realized that, I wish I did it 2 years earlier.
Look, absolutely.
Because it was a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you asked anybody who's made the leap, they'd probably agree. But it's the courage that one requires to remove the comfort blanket and take the leap of faith. And that's not easy for people when, everyone has rising cost of living and all the other things that everyone is battling against every day of the week.
100%. So if I could ask you just a question, if you could put your business hat on from when you were running your office and someone came to you back then and said, look, Damian, eXp, do you want to chat about it? And you had a little chat about it with someone, what would be some things as the business owner that you'd go, oh, actually, no, it's not for me?
Oh my goodness, what a question.
Hard one to go back to, I guess, but because I know in conversations with business owners that they're in their own routines, they've got their own systems down. Like, I don't know, for me, it'd be why would I make a change, you know, and go with someone else and give my money to someone else? That's what I would immediately think.
Yeah, I think that would be an obvious knee-jerk reaction to that type of conversation, but I don't know if it would be the real one. I think for me, business owners, by their very nature, can be systematic, can be process-driven. I know I certainly was, and the thought of changing all of those, or potentially having to change all of those systems, all of those processes to something else would be a massive thing. For me, my database in my past life was my business. It was everything. And the thought of going from one CRM to another was just mind-boggling. But obviously, you know, in the years, technology's changed as well. So even that probably shouldn't be a barrier or a roadblock anymore.
No, okay. Yeah, good point. So as a business owner or as an individual out there in the real estate world right now, maybe, you know, not quite content where they are, looking to make a change, do you feel that eXp has helped you or helps others with that transition, makes it easy for them?
Yeah, definitely. The head office guys are next level. They are just, my God, they're so helpful. They're so nice. Absolutely. And don't pigeonhole people watching this video. Don't pigeonhole them if they're not happy. Even if you're happy, you should always be looking at other options. You should always be looking at what else is out there. You know, I thought I was really happy. Everything in my world was fine and dandy. I had no issues. Here I am. I didn't realize I could be where I am today. I had no idea. So don't, even if you're happy with your current position, still question it, still look for other options. Don't wait till you're unhappy.
Yes, really good point. Curious open minds. And I guess I was in that same boat where I was actually happy, and I used to get phone calls from mobs saying, hey, did you want to check out this? Did you want to check out this? Always open to it, always looked at it.
Absolutely.
And no model really attracted me until I had a glimpse of the eXp model. And then I thought, okay. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh, okay.
That's right. That's, look, 100%. And when I went out on my own in 2014, eXp didn't exist then, and I looked at the models that were out there, and you know, there are good models out there. There are other good brands that you can utilize. But if I'd had my time again, or if this had existed back then, I think it would have been a no-brainer back then, as I believe it is now. It just seems to kick the others out of the ballpark in every shape and way, and they're all trying to catch up. They're all trying to copy what eXp are doing now.
Yeah, hard to do.
Very hard to do, because the biggest one is, you know, the model that Glenn set up, where you become a part of the business. I think that is, for me, the ultimate.
We've just lost Damian, gone his tech camera gone. But guys, that was Damian Raxach from Hervey Bay, connecting with us online here. So I hope you've enjoyed that conversation, and reach out if you do have any questions about the model.